again, there was new names in some of the emails that I think investigators need to look at. In particular, I jumped on the name of a modeling agent who, in a similar fashion to Jean-Luc Brunel, who brought underage girls from overseas to Jeffrey Epstein for abuse. There was another man. What was interesting about this other individual is that he also apparently provided young models for Donald Trump's modeling agency.
He wants all the Trump stuff to go, he wants all the Epstein stuff to go away, right? That's his main motivation, is he doesn't want his name mentioned with Epstein in the same sentence because that is hurting him and it's fracturing his party and his base. So he's nervous about it, but he could use Ghislaine as someone who says, I know everything there is to know about Jeffrey Epstein and you weren't part of anything bad, because she's the most credible person to say that.
The research that I did on my book, that Jeffrey Epstein has always viewed himself as smarter than everybody else, and he also has collected people all along the way, particularly over the 2 decades through his trafficking. And that was always to get secrets and bits of information about individuals that he could pass to other people. He trafficked it.
But what if the most explosive secrets about Sean Diddy Combs were never spoken in a courtroom at all, but are instead buried inside more than 20,000 pages of Jeffrey Epstein's private emails, now sitting in front of Congress in November 2025? We are not talking about rumors on social media. We are talking about official correspondence released by the House Oversight Committee. Emails that already reshaped how people look at Epstein's ties to Donald Trump and now, according to committee staff, are being combed for repeated mentions of Diddy's name. In those same documents, we see Epstein using casual references to the girls in exchanges from 2011 and 2019. The same time frame federal agents say Diddy was allegedly hosting days-long freak-off parties that witnesses described in his 2025 trial. When we place the timelines next to each other, it stops feeling like 2 separate scandals and starts looking like one continuous shadow network finally being dragged into the light.
Of extortion that we heard when Cassie took the stand and testified on that airplane ride back from France. Diddy said, you don't do a freak-off, I'm going to release one of the freak-off videos that you are profiled in and humiliate.
This was when his personal assistant was on the stand and they were asking him about that he had witnessed that Sean Diddy Combs had taken, and he talked about and he said that one of those pills was in the shape of President Obama's face. Get some reaction from the juries, as if just to make an acknowledgement as to, oh, that's really interesting. That was in the shape of President Obama's face.
2 months in prison.
Wow.
He served a year. He gets some time. He gets 15% credit, so he'd be at 14-ish.
2.5 years.
2 months.
So, and then he gets another 15% of the remaining.
Yeah.
He's out in 2 years.
Yeah. Should have stuck with the original guest.
I know. Yeah.
For most viewers, the story of Diddy's fall seemed to reach its peak in early October 2025 when a federal jury in New York cleared him of racketeering conspiracy under the RICO statute, but still convicted him on transportation for adult services-related charges that carry up to 20 years behind bars. Prosecutors laid out a pattern that began in the mid-200s and ran for roughly 2 decades, describing how assistants allegedly arranged travel, booked luxury hotels, and bought supplies for his so-called freak-offs, where commercial companions were paid to participate in carefully staged private encounters. In open court, they argued that his business empire functioned as an enterprise, even if the jury ultimately stopped short of calling it organized crime. The public heard the verdict and thought the story was over. But we can already see how these newly surfaced Epstein emails could reopen that question and push Diddy's legal exposure from years toward a potential life sentence if prosecutors find matching patterns across the two men's circles. The turning point came in mid-November 2025 when House Democrats first released a curated batch of Epstein's emails, and Republicans hit back hours later by dumping more than 20,000 pages from what they branded the Epstein files. Buried inside this political tug-of-war were messages stretching from 2008 to 2019, including the now viral line where Epst wrote that Trump knew about the girls and described himself as the one able to take him down. Those emails were initially framed as a Trump story, but staffers and outside analysts quickly noticed other names recurring in the threads and blind copied chains. Committee sources now claim that Diddy is among the figures whose name appears in multiple exchanges around travel, exclusive events, and unnamed female guests, even if the raw documents do not spell out exactly what those connections were. When we remember that this same period overlaps with Diddy's alleged pattern of recruiting and flying in women for his private gatherings, the implications become hard to ignore.
So we think that's just absolutely inconsistent with the jury's verdict. I mean, the jury's verdict was resoundingly clear. There was no trafficking, there was no racketeering, everything was consensual, everything was adult, which is why he was convicted only of the offense. What we feel happened today was that the judge acted as a 13th juror, one that we did not choose, and that he second-guessed the jury's.
Did a whole lot to a whole lot of people, and now he's paying for it. So all these cats, I guess y'all get y'all visitation rights. Some of y'all can get y'all conjugal visits right with them. I don't give
the unit that was one floor above mine. You know, so in terms of like the setting, it's a fairly decent chance that the room I'm describing is similar to where Diddy is. Yeah.
On paper, Diddy's trial and Epstein's files were supposed to be separate chapters of a long, messy saga about power, influence, and exploitation. Epstein's story ended in 2019 when he was found in his Manhattan jail cell, and authorities labeled it a self-inflicted tragedy. For years afterward, conspiracy forums obsessed over the idea of a secret client list and hidden compromat from his private island and flights. In Diddy's case, the narrative was more straightforward. A music mogul turned brand tycoon accused, in a sweeping September 2024 indictment, of using his employees, record label, and companies to coerce women into degrading marathons of private inarios, and to silence witnesses with intimidation, payouts, or both. By June 2025, jurors were hearing about alleged kidnapping, arson, bribery, and forced labor woven into his lifestyle. From the outside, these looked like parallel scandals. The emails threatened to change that by suggesting that the same coded systems and elite social circles may have overlapped more than anyone realized. When we read how Epst wrote to Ghislaine Maxwell in 2011, dropping a line about Trump as the dog that hasn't barked, and noting that a young woman spent hours at his house without triggering interest from any police chief.
This job was a upgrade. He took a massive pay cut. He was an accomplished litigator. He has a pedigree that most law students would envy, and he's a very, very brilliant man.
Realized was he had cameras all over the place, unbeknownst to them. And now he has all that footage, supposedly. This is what I'm told. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens if, you're a huge iconic, TV star or movie star, and you're in, look at Diddy, for instance. Mm-hmm. Let's take a look at him. Mm-hmm. Let's take a look at, he has videos. He has videos of the parties. Now, what I've heard, which I don't know how much of it is in mainstream media, I don't really follow the story that much, but what I've heard from friends that are attorneys, friends of mine that have represented me before, agents and so on, is there's a bidding war.